just that way, hopefully, you know, each time we just grow more and more. I am Weary. I'm the president of the National Women in Agriculture here in our area. We've actually chosen 5 different districts that we're going to cover. But right now we're starting out and trying to really get established in Brevard. And then we have Seminole, Orange County, and I think that's the 5, right? Yeah. Peggy is also a board member. And so I wanted to be able to cover what exactly National Women in Agriculture is, but first I'm also going to, even though I'm going to actually introduce Derrick again, but Derrick here is with us and we're blessed to have him. He's from the USDA. He is in charge of a few different districts, ours, Seminole, and so he is in charge of all the programs through the NRCS. And a lot of people don't know what the NRCS might not be. He'll cover that here in a little bit. But until then, I'm going to just run quickly over our chapter. So National Women in Agriculture is the biggest women's organization in agriculture in the whole entire country. And we are blessed enough to have one of the chapters started here. And we have several different goals that we decided as a chapter what our goals are. And so I'm going to just run through those. The focus is to help family-owned farms to become sustainable. Like, for instance, if we come and we're helping you guys, and you guys get excited, you guys are going to teach your children, or they're going to teach their children, and then it's able to carry on. Or if you have a family friend that you are educating in your farming, and now you've taught them. Peggy has brought it to my life, if like, she totally changed it in agriculture, which I'm hoping everybody else can, you know, kind of get something out of this and go on from there and make it so that we don't lose it. Because right now, as far as farming and stuff, it's just kind of a thing of the past more so, it seems like. And it's nice if we have groups like this that we can talk. Because before it was just at the big commercial level. They knew what to do, but it's like, okay, so how do we you know, as just a family, how do we, you know, start from scratch? Or if it's been handed down through generations. We've got some people who are 4 generational, and they still can get new information, learn about new programs that are offered. So that's kind of what we're trying to do, is we're trying to reach more on the level of our community and not so much on the commercial level. So what we as a chapter are doing right now, we are making weekly donations to the food pantry, which Miss Ann here is one of the people at No One Hungry Food Pantry. And we also are wanting to work with the youth, going actually into the elementary schools for the Egg in the Classroom. If anybody has ever heard of the Egg in the Classroom, it's an organization that's actually set up across the country. And if you reach out to anyone, like each state has their own group, and then you reach out to them and say, hey, I want to do Egg in the Classroom, this is what I want to do. They'll provide you with educational material. Then you go into the classroom setting and you can teach the kids, hey, this is a seed. You end up getting dirt, you plant the seed, and now it grows, and so they see it firsthand, the seed growing, and there's all different kinds of activities that you can bring into the elementary school. And then we really would like to start a Future Farmers of America, FFA, and the reason why we would like that one, 4-H is more at a younger age, where you're bringing in your sheep and, you know, your cows and stuff like that. But at a middle school, high school age, the educational meat of it is really in Future Farmers of America. So we're trying to get into the Brevard School District level to find out if we can start working with teachers, because you have to start at the district level to carry on. So that's our focus for the middle age and high school. Then for Bright Futures, if you know, you guys have children or no children that probably are into graduating in a few years, but Bright Futures is huge. Bright Futures is what my kids have gone through and ended up getting a bunch of hours to get their scholarships. You either can get like qualify for 80% or 100%, but you have to put in community service. We're a nonprofit. We can do that hour-based. So therefore, if you know anybody who needs those Bright Future hours, then you can, have them come to us. My kids had to go all the way down to the Marine Resource Center down in Palm Bay. That's what interested them because they wanted to do something that was out in the outdoors. So that we had to drive all the way down there. So this offers a chance that each one of our farmers, you can either sign up as a farmer who wants to be able to help mentor these kids to get their Bright Future hours, or you can just let us know if you know somebody who would like to get those Bright Future hours. There's also a second scholarship called Florida Farmer Student Scholarship, and that I had contacted them to see if our hours would also count, because you either have to work in a farm or else you have to be part of a farm family. And so I contacted them, and since we are, again, in agriculture, our hours would help make those kids qualify for it. Then for veterans, we also are trying to focus with veterans. So the VFW here, Commander Ray, at our VFW post, he would like to see if our group could possibly get a farmer's market put in and run it at their VFW, because a lot of their people are older, and it just is more convenient for them to be able to get fresh fruit and vegetables there. And so we would be looking for people to help organize that farmer's market for them. And then we also had found another source that we could tap into in order to be able for the farmers to accept, what is it that they can accept for payment? Yes. Yep. So that's another program that we've tapped into to be able to, so that they can accept them, especially to help a lot of the veterans. Okay, so farmers. I'm gonna go to this. So how, if you're a farmer and there's like a gentleman here, and how is this gonna end up benefiting them? Because it says women. Well, it's not just for women. It's for women, it's for men, it's for the youth, but we're ran by women in our board. Doesn't mean Kendall can't join our board as well, because he can. We don't discriminate. But so we're trying to reach the historically underserved, which is your youth, your veterans, your women, and any minority. So that is like, our first focus, to try to reach to them, and then everybody else is all we want to. So one thing that we're gonna always try to do is provide a monthly meeting. It's always gonna be the first Monday of every month, which is May 1st, is next month. And we're gonna try to always switch up the subjects, and we're gonna be recording them, so that way you guys can always go back, because, Derrick is talking and there's something that you're like, oh, I missed that, then you can go back and review what he had said and stuff like that. So as long as you guys have filled out things with your email, I can send you guys a copy of that email, of this meeting in that email. Help provide local and regional markets to buy and sell produce. We already covered that we want to do that at the VFW level, for the first one anyways. Support urban agriculture through these outreach events that we're doing. Also, for the business training, because a lot of people might just be starting out. And so I'll just try to each meeting, kind of stagger the meeting that I'm having, focus towards, beginning people, but what does, the regular, so that way I kind of have meetings split in half. But that way I can have somebody come in and speak each time about whether making your business plan, whether it's the USDA programs, insurance programs, loans, and mentorship opportunities. Because if you are trying to go for a loan through FSA, if you don't have 3 years already in, you need to have a mentor. So that way our networking with each other is going to end up helping. If somebody wants to get into cattle, into ranching, a good resource is Peggy. And then, working with Peggy as far as mentorship goes. Or if you're into citrus grows and you want to learn more about citrus, and you guys can tap into me for, citrus grows. And we also have, poultry people that we can tap into. So then, of course, then the next bullet was networking, which I had already covered. So I was trying to go through this as quick as I could, so that way I'm giving Derrick enough time, because really he's going to be the meat of this meeting. But some things I wanted to highlight super quick. So for the next meeting, even though it starts at 5:30, if anybody wants to come at 5:15, and you guys if you guys have business cards, you guys can swap business cards. I already kind of started with having Derrick's business card, Miss Peggy's business card, my business card. So then at that point, network with each other, pass each other's cards out. And if you guys are doing anything and you guys want to bring and donate, like I ended up bringing in a bottle of my wine and chapstick, because when you're in citrus, it takes a while for them to produce. So I had to find creative ways in order to be able to bring some income in before that, and that's something that we'll go through in meetings too, is, whether it's beekeeping, whether, we'll try to pull in a bunch of different things, candle making. So that's what I have here. So because there isn't as many people, I should have enough to pass out something to everybody. And but that's if you guys do bring anything that you want to donate, then that's when we'll do it, is from 5:15 to 5:30 is we'll kind of swap with each other, and then you guys can also pass up your business card so they can see what you guys have. So if you want to bring a sample and just be like, networking. So, okay. Any questions before I pass it over to Derrick? Did I cover it pretty well? Okay, and also I do have the NWIAA's business card over there. If you guys want to shoot me any emails that you might have had questions on. But here's Derrick with the NRCS USDA.
Thanks. Thanks, Ann. Yes, I'm Derrick Wyle. I'm the District Conservationist for the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service. I cover Brevard and Seminole County. My office is in Cocoa. I grew up in Brevard County. My family moved to Brevard County in the 1960s, and I wasn't born here, but we all moved back when I was 2 years old. So I'm Brevard County native as far as I'm concerned. I'm really nosy though, so I want to hear everyone's names and where you live and what's your interest in agriculture and why you're here tonight. Put on you first.
My name is Crystal Tyree. I'm a native Floridian, actually native to Brevard County. My interests are, well, it started with like vegetable farming, and then it's kind of progressed into a much larger vegetable farm. And I have chickens, and then my friend here, Rebecca, we have an interest in potentially, she has a flower farm, and kind of going on a bigger scale, like wholesale flower farms. So we're just kind of trying to learn more, trying to network, and then kind of seeing what our next steps are.
Like MIMS?
Yep, MIMS.
Yeah. So, my name is Rebecca Leffler. I live in Titusville. I farm in Mims on borrowed land. I'm trying to start a flower farm this year. It's kind of my goal. I grow tons of veggies and stuff for my family. That's where I started. But then I tapped into like this flower thing that I feel like no one really has around here.
I have someone I think I can connect you with.
Oh, really?
She has a bunch of flowers, but also edible flowers. You know that right too.
Yeah. Oh, we're looking into like lots of different where we could go, and we have potential of having more land later, and we just kind of want to learn. We want to dip our toes in and see what we can learn before we get heels deep in the wrong way.
So we want to learn how to close our system down in our garden.
Yeah.
And have a closed system garden. So
Less
we need
inputs.
some education. So.
Definitely.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay.
I'm Betty Salter. I live out in TGO out in Titusville. And what I saw when a friend sent me a snapshot of the poster, I saw healing the soil.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm interested in. I do a lot of work with our fireflies and our nature center that is out there. So I'm not a farmer, but I'm very interested in soil conservation in a lot of other ways. We remove an awful lot of Brazilian pepper. And one of the things we talk about is how do you heal that soil after the pepper has just devastated everything. So that's why I'm here.
And we know. Ms. Peggy?
My name is Peggy Green, and I'm with Big Oak Springs out in Sugar.
Welcome. Dan?
Hi, I'm Dan, and I've lived in Broward County for quite a long time, off and on basically all my life. But, beginning in like 1964, but regardless, I got an acre of land, and I'm just getting back on my feet after a long 10-year convalescence. And I want to develop what I'm thinking now is a vegetable garden. Take it from there. I know, really, I don't know anything, but I'm really, I've been studying YouTube and going to the library, and I have a lot of ideas. It sounds very interesting what other people are talking about. I'm just going to sit here like a sponge.
I'm Kevin Flood. I live next door to Ann, and she got me trying to get involved with the citrus. And that's where we're at.
Good deal.
Hi, I'm Teresa Holland. I'm from Lynn's, with all Lynn's. I do a hobby farm of gardening and perennials and flowers, and I have grandchildren that I'm teaching, and I'm super into teaching children how to do it, why to do it, and what we get out of doing it. And it's not all about you. And I just want to learn more. I'm like a senior now, and I'm like, woohoo, I can do this. And between babysitting, my husband with them tonight, but they're okay. I just love it all, and I'm really excited about maybe lighting, sharing with the children. I love children, and I like to teach children. We were planning to do this at a parochial school that our granddaughters go to, and it knew it was too political. How in the heck is this teaching them how to put a silly old seed in a tub with some dirt? No. Thank you very much, we'll let you know. So, yeah, that's, that wasn't for us. So, we're not at that purpose, now we're homeschooling. So, that's the way to go. But I'm just like this gentleman here, I have a hobby farm, I'm ready to learn.
And more. I'm new to Florida. I've just been here 4 years. So I work with the food pantry, and I'm just interested in soil and gardening and that type of thing, and to learn more about Florida.
Oh, I'm a native Floridian, I forgot to say that, Broward County.
Most your Florida credits.
Yeah, I know, right?
I know where I'm
All right, thanks. Just kind of gives my mind something to target when I talk. You know what you guys are all interested in. I'll talk briefly about the programs we offer at NRCS. We have financial assistance programs that are authorized through the Farm Bill. Most people have heard of the Farm Bill. It gets reauthorized typically every 5 years. For, not to leave you out, Peggy, but for the smaller scale people that are not involved in livestock, some of the popular things that we provide cost share for are Hightunnels or greenhouses. That's popular. We also help, if you are a livestock operator, we help with things like cross fencing, so we can do rotational grazing systems, or livestock water developments to get the cows out of the streams and ponds and onto clean water. So that's proven to improve cattle production. We do pollinator plantings for wildlife. We do prescribed burns for wildlife. So we typically are targeting because I work for the Natural Resources Conservation Service, all of our goal is to improve the resource conservation level on your operation. What are our resources? Typically we're talking soil, water, air, plants, and animals. So an example of a soil-related resource concern might be you have soil erosion, or soil compaction, or soil organic matter depletion. Something that's affecting, or that sometimes, most often, that we've affected through our operations that's degraded the quality of that resource. Water, all sorts of water quality issues, eroded stream banks from cattle getting into the stream, nutrient runoff from fertilization, invasive aquatic species. For air quality concerns, we kind of are looking at stuff like we'll do. One thing we've been trying to promote lately is getting people to convert their ancient diesel motors to either modern Tier 4, modern EPA standard diesel motors to reduce emissions related from combustible fuels. So either converting to a modern diesel or converting that system to electric to target air quality concerns. In Florida, we don't have some of the other kinds of air quality concerns like emissions of particulates and odors from confined animal feeding operations. We just don't have a lot of those in the state, save for the remaining dairies down in the southern Kissimmee River Valley and near Okeechobee. Plants, pest plants, Brazilian pepper removal. We do a lot of Brazilian pepper removal contracts every year because there's a lot of Brazilian pepper that needs to be removed. Cogan grass is another target species. You guys have Cogan grass. Okay. Started to work more on smut grass. It's become more prevalent in our pasture systems. Tropical soda apple. Anything that's on the list of noxious and invasive species, we can provide funding to eradicate those in certain types of systems. Other plant resource concerns, we're not killing them, we're trying to grow them. So we're looking at things like, a program we just got done promoting was interseeding legumes into pastures to increase the quality of the forage for the livestock and also increase nitrogen in the soil for free from those legumes. We've done some promotion on that lately. These are all usually targeted through a program we have called EQIP, Environmental Quality Incentives Program. Basically the program works like this. You hear about it and you call it. And then we come out and we, I'm a trained professional. I went to ag school, agriculture. I worked for NRCS for 17 years. So we go, you don't have to know what's going on. You say, come help me. I've got problems. We come out to your operation and we work with you to identify the resource concerns, determine the objectives that you have for the operation, discuss some alternative treatments to increase that conservation level on the operation. We make some decisions, we put your application into a competitive process, and then we have a cost share list of, we pay this much for the plants. So if we want to do an acre pollinator planting, maybe we pay $500 an acre to plant a pollinator. Maybe we pay $400 an acre to eradicate Brazilian pepper. So we work on that plan together. You agree to it, and then hopefully you get approved. For hoop houses, I think we were paying $5.20 a square foot. So we go out, determine the size of the operation that you have. Okay, you need 2,000 square foot high tunnel to cover what you've got now. Put you in for 2,000 square feet of high tunnel at $5 a foot. That's $10,000 cost share. Ultimately, we don't pay like a percentage. We don't take your bills and cut you a check for half. We pay $5 per square foot for that high tunnel. If it costs you $6 per square foot, all the better. If it costs you 10 because you hired somebody to build it, you still get 5. It's a straight line cost like that. I don't see bills, I don't want to see bills, I don't care about your bills. We just pay for practices completed. So the list of practices is extensive. There's probably 1,200 different things that we pay for, all kinds of different systems. And so people will just ask me, what else do you pay for? I can't name them all. We got to work together. We got to see what you have, determine what needs to be addressed, come up with the plan, and then we can discuss how best to treat it with your choices, and it's going to meet your objectives. If you're organic, you're not going to want to spray your cover. So how are we going to get rid of it? That kind of thing. So we need to work on the plan together. And that's how the NRCS works. We are a collaborative agency. We are not a regulator. So that's cool. It's a good part of my job. I don't come to your place and say you're doing this wrong and I'm going to fine you if you don't
I
do
was gonna
this.
ask, so you're not gonna turn us in for doing something?
I'm not going to turn you in unless there's like a dead body in the back of the barn.
Ex-son-in-laws don't count, right?
What's that?
I said ex-son-in-laws don't count.
I guess what's their rap sheet? We'd have to negotiate. So, the only thing we kind of dabble in regulatory-wise is wetland conservation. And a wetland violation isn't a crime they're going to throw you in jail for, but having a wetland violation would bar you from participating in a USDA financial assistance program until the wetlands violation is rectified. So, you can't, those of you who don't know, you can't fill a wetland, you can't drain a wetland, you can't alter the hydrology, you can't till a wetland, you can't pull stumps out of a wetland. You can cut trees down in a wetland, you can mow a wetland, you can't do anything that's going to change the hydrologic function of a wetland. So I get asked that question a lot too. I got this wet spot. Can you tell me how much dirt I need to put in it? No, I can't. I won't. So that's the only sort of maybe kind of thing we regulate. But again, we're not fining you and throwing you in jail. We just say, sorry, you can't participate.
How about information on putting a well in?
I can point you to the people that handle that. Typically, it runs through probably the St. Johns River Water Management District and/or Florida DEP. They're the permitting agency. We don't handle any permits. We're federal, so anything that requires a permit locally.
But you could point us in that direction.
Yeah, usually I know who to go to if you need a well. Yeah, I might even know a driller or something like that. I can find them for you. But we don't handle any permits. You don't have to apply for a permit for anything from me. But yeah, again, I get calls all kind. I got sinkhole calls all last week. I don't do sinkholes either, but I know where to send you. What else?
As far as wells go, if you are a farm, do you need to hold a permit for just a regular?
I would say yes, you need to.
I'm talking about like the flowers. Or just,
You're-
you know, a
you're-
little irrigation point.
Yes.
Um,
I would think you need a permit for any well that's taking water out of the groundwater supply, no matter how big or small.
Some people, will try to make their own well, like get a shallow well and try to, just to get some. Where's the distinction between getting a well permit with what somebody does it, like, do it yourself?
I don't know.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
not Henman, the local D&E,
Yes.
people in Mass,
Yes.
as you know.
Yeah, and they put the permits and everything for you.
Yes.
Like I got mine done here in town, and they do it all for you.
They get all the permit.
Yeah, they handle all that.
Yeah, typically the well driller would because
Yeah.
they have to fill out their well driller.
If you're gonna do it yourself, then you have to go to this, well, for me, I live on North Bay City of Titusville. But, like, they're company here for it.
Yeah, it may depend on whose limits you're in. The city
Uh-huh.
may say one
Exactly,
thing,
yeah.
Yeah,
and the county that's another,
yeah, definitely.
on and on and on. So,
The county's home. We were going to rebuild where we're at,
That's cool.
and they really kind of want you not to. And they're hard, and they're really, so I can see why people are doing it the easy way. They are hard, especially the further out you go, and you notice that it's getting encapsulated with mini mansions. And we're obviously not mini mansions, yeah. Be careful where you buy them in.
So as of now, we just had a batching date for our applications. So any applications I receive from now on would be in the 2024 cycle. The federal government fiscal year ends on September 30th. So typically, we're looking to get applications on or around September 30th or October 1st. Usually we're trying to get them all together in October so that we have time to work on that plan.
So like start October, you want us to knock on
probably before then.
Okay.
I will take an application any day of the week,
Okay.
but I'll tell you, it's gonna be next year.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, at this point, it's gonna be next year. So we are in the middle of signing the last year's applications, finishing up all the disaster work we got saddled with after Ian, which was extensive and ongoing. And also doing just our typical normal cycle of equal contracts, which I know they're getting antsy out there because we had such a long delay after Ian, that people want an answer on, did I get approved or not?
Yeah.
So,
That's the end of April, you find out, right?
that should be pretty soon. So, you know, that's a sort of the briefest, maybe teaser I can give you on NRCS programs, because it's huge. And so truly the best way to get involved is to just, let's get together.
Okay. It does a description. Like it's livestock, food, all the above agriculture.
Yes, it's all kinds of agriculture, yeah. Horticulture production is
Yeah,
agriculture
okay.
production.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
That was my next question.
yeah, it does not need to be food.
Okay.
You do not need to be growing it to earn a profit. It's subsistence farming counts, which has been a change.
That's a huge change.
I think that was in the 2014 Farm Bill. We used to have $1,000 created to produce or have been capable of producing $1,000 of something, and they got rid of that. So even pet horses count. So
Because like this is on yards.
yeah,
I mean, like,
and that's fine.
okay.
And we actually have a specific targeted batch of funds for urban agriculturists, so that don't have to compete with the 1,000-acre ranches, which is convenient because a lot of our scoring is based on, well, how many resource concerns you're treating. If you're treating a soil one and a water one and a plant one, you're going to get more points than somebody who's just treating one resource concern, which we are technically size neutral, but when you get down to it, the bigger you have, the more stuff you've got going on.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have more things you're trying to address. So we set aside some money saying, hey, this is, and it's a geographically limited area in terms of what we consider urban, but I think everything but maybe the farthest north extent of Brevard County is urban enough that it's in. So I'm pretty sure most of the Middens and Titusville is in. You have like the St. John's River area, not so much, but it sounds like, I bet where you guys are at is
Well, like,
urban area.
north.
Probably. Okay, so I don't want to drone on about programs too long, but if you're interested, take a card, Dan.
Just what does the NRCS stand for?
Natural Resources Conservation Service. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, the NRCS used to be started in the 30s in the wake of the Dust Bowl as the Soil Erosion Service, and later became the Soil Conservation Service, and then recognizing that the nexus of soil conservation involves all our other natural resources, the name changed in like 94 to the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Not a roll off your tongue name. NRCS is tolerable. So I'll do my presentation here on soil health. This is a presentation that I have not updated since like 2019. You can see it says Glenwood Springs, Colorado. I worked in Colorado for 11 years as a soil conservationist, and so I try this presentation out all the time. So you'll see some Colorado specific stuff, but the most of it's good. And I called this one at the time Breaking New Ground in Soil Health, because the last time I gave this one, it was like hemp boom out in western Colorado. And all these people that had beautiful pastures and hay fields of grass and alfalfa were tearing them up to plant hemp, because they're hearing they're getting $50,000 profit an acre on planting hemp. And we were just watching the dust blow like it was 1934. So I was trying to drive home this point, and I gave this last time. Back in 2019. See, here's my thing. Perennial ag has been the predominant in our area. New crops are coming to town. What's going to happen to my soil? So soil health, that's like the buzzword now. We went from conservation was a buzzword, that word's kind of old, then we went to, sustainable is the new buzzword, organic's the new buzzword. Now soil health is kind of like top of everyone's mind right now, which is great. So here's NRCS's definition. Continued capacity of the soil to function as a vital living ecosystem that sustains plants, animals, and humans. You all have seen that quote.
Kind of like grazon is now, is the buzzword for everything.
Grazon, isn't that an herbicide?
Yes, but it's also into the soil health in the Indian River.
No doubt. So, all these functions that soil have. What are our soils to function? Cycling nutrients, holding our water, filtering our water, physical standing, building our houses on, habitat for biodiversity. So in a healthy teaspoon of soil, there is 1 billion individual organisms in a teaspoon of healthy soil, representing 1,000 different species. You know, all these things that need to live in there. It's a factory. It doesn't maybe look like much, but there's more going on below ground than is even yet understood to science.
Do you do anything on vermicomposting? Oh, awesome. Oh, awesome. I got 20 by 30. Which one plays better? Love it.
Yeah. So our management activities, I mean, we came in and humans generally have tried to come in and tame nature to suit our needs. And so what have we done and what could we do better to meet our needs but not degrade our resources? And so I like this sort of other mentality that's come around. Sustainable, I'm run a sustainable farm. Well, what's sustainable? It's just tracking along. You're not going down, but you're not going up either. And what's the new one? Regenerative agriculture. That's the hot ticket right now is regenerative. Well, why can't we just improve it while getting what we want out of it? So regenerative agriculture is the new thing, and I've worked with many, many people that have targeted specifically being a regenerative agriculturalist. So I'm not going to drill on some of this stuff. I don't know, there's processes and trophic layers that happen, and if we push the cycle to the left, you're in a constant disturbance system of tillage and planting, but what happens if we leave it alone? Eventually it goes to the mature, forested type system, and that depends on your climate, your soils, and other things like that. So, this is like the question when you're out there farming, like, what are you trying to mimic? And these are our natural systems. These existed since the last ice age on their own without human input. Now, we're not going to go into like how Native Americans burn the prairies and use management tools also, but even before that, prairie fires happened and actually created that disturbance cycle. And so one of the reasons we got ourselves into the Dust Bowl is because these prairie grass ecosystems were designed by nature to grow grass. So we went out and we tilled the native grass and we planted corn, which is what? A grass. And so they went out there and tilled it and planted corn, and it grew a ton of corn. But the cycle is now suddenly disrupted. It wasn't diverse. It wasn't covered all the time. It wasn't going through natural processes. It's getting tilled and turned and planted into monoculture, and tilled and turned and planted into monoculture. And these systems that made the deep mollisols, the grassland soils that were so good and so high in organic matter was now disrupted, and that cycle being broken sent all those things that are so prevalent down the tube. Soils naked, hungry, thirsty, and running a fever. Yeah, this is not what nature wants to do on this track, right? It wants to look like something in the background. We forced it into this kind of system. Here we go, just some erosion. So the battle is won or lost here. So water, we need water, but water is also energy that can disrupt and break apart soil particles and cause erosion problems. Here's like a microscope picture of a healthy soil on the left. Large aggregates, you know, when I say aggregate, this is like one aggregate, an aggregate, an aggregate, an aggregate being a clump made up of many, many, many individual soil particles held together by organic matter and root exudates and worm castings and soil glue. And if you're a drop of water, what path do you think is going to be easier to get through? It's the one on the left. And the one on the right is the system that's been disturbed so many times that the pore spaces and the aggregate stability is gone. So a water drop is not going to be able to find its way through here quickly enough so that when you get a heavy enough rainfall or an irrigation event, it's going to hit the ground and it's going to move laterally, and that's going to cause erosion. Now, I'm talking a lot about erosion. I know where we're at. We're in Florida. Sand sucks up water like nobody's business, and it is hard to compact sand just by the shape and size of a single quartz particle compaction, and we don't have a lot of slope either. So, not the most erosive place. Now, some of our creek banks and ditch banks can have that effect by what we're doing to them, but our sort of field level, you can get some dust for sure. I mean, if your field's bare for long enough during the rainy season, you can have some erosion. But this, you know, you're not going to see this very often. So, these are the, called the 4 pillars of soil health. Limiting soil disturbance, limiting tillage activities, limiting going in there and flipping and turning and compacting, crushing and breaking apart your soil. I understand that this sometimes is a fact of life, but if you can limit it, find other ways to till and break apart soil, or just do it as few times as possible, that's a good thing. Plant diversity. So, the prairie picture. 50 different species in that picture. We go out and plant a single stand of something. Well, each plant species forms symbiotic relationships with a subset of microorganisms. So if you just have one species out there, well, then you're only going to get those specific microorganisms that cohabitate, that form that relationship. Add another one. You probably added 50% more opportunity for more, and on and on and on. And so these natural systems, again, form more symbiosis with more microbiology that's going to have more nutrient cycling and more positive benefits to your soil. Keeping it covered or armored. So, in your off season, if you're leaving your soil bare with nothing growing in it, you're doing a disservice to the soil and to the microorganisms because they function with and because of each other.
So like a silage tarp is not covering it correctly.
For like 6 months at a time or something in the off season?
I
3
only had it covered for probably
3 months?
yeah. No.
Not the best choice.
Because that's like the new thing. You get a silage tarp, it kills everything.
Well, yeah, okay. So, different reasons to do that, yes.
Uh-huh.
So when you're trying to break new ground,
Yeah,
you're
that's
trying
what
to
I'm
take
trying to do
something
right
out of
now.
the
That's what
pasture.
I do right now. And I have a silage tarp covered and it's like weedy grassy mess.
I'm cool with that.
Okay.
Again, we have to get to where we want to be somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in your toolbox of choices, you could have gone out with the rototiller
Yeah.
every day.
That's what I was trying
every
to
week
instead.
Right.
for a
Yes.
month until the first crop of weeds and the next crop and the next crop and just tilled and tilled and tilled and tilled. With the silage tarp method, you are solarizing and you're killing all those species
Yes.
without.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to start doing something different, you know. We
Yeah,
always
no.
just tilled, we're trying to do something else.
That's a good idea.
But in that case, what would you start with? What's the best way to start?
After you pull the tarp,
Yeah, just go on top of it and compost and.
yeah, you could compost. I mean, again, you could plant. So we talk a lot about cover crops for like in the
Yeah.
off season,
Like to-
but you can also think of cover crops as a before crop, and then we call them soil primers. So you're taking and you're saying, I'm gonna plant this, But in order to restore some biology or get some organic matter in, I'm gonna plant a crop of beans in this area. So I mean, it's not gonna become weedy later,
Yeah.
but then you can use that, again, nitrogen fixation. It's gonna keep it covered so it's not
Yeah.
getting 120
Covered.
degrees.
Yeah.
And then you can even, you gotta till those beans in, and you're gonna get all that organic matter.
Well, like, I've been planting chicken meat
Okay.
and then letting the chickens go in there and eat all that chicken meat out in like the off season. And kind of hoping that.
Bonus, my 4 pillars have a bonus at the end to incorporate
Okay.
animals.
Okay.
Animals are like walking composters, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so they're gonna convert, same thing, they're gonna convert that above ground stuff into more, there'll be more availability of plant nutrition by cycling it that way. If you take a green crop and till it under,
Yeah.
depending on the time and quantity of the crop, it will become available eventually. But if you've got chickens out there digesting it at the back,
Yeah.
you can kind of push that cycle along, same
There's
with
no other chickens.
cattle.
Plus you get $8 a dozen for eggs.
Yeah, I mean, you're mining some of that nutrients and putting it into a chicken.
She sells them for $4 if you're interested.
Yeah.
No, I sell mine for
Yeah.
8 all day long. Free range of eggs and I tell people away.
You've mentioned the lagoons a couple of times for nitrogen fixation. How about clover?
That's a legume.
That is
Clover is a legume. Your clovers are your legumes. Alfalfa is a legume. You're not going to find much of that down here. All your beans are legumes. There's a legume called sun hemp. It's another legume that grows well in Florida. Hairy indigo, ash anemone, carpon desmodium. There's a ton of legumes. I mean, we think soybeans is like everyone's, that's a legume, but there's leguminous trees that actually form. So the legume forms a symbiotic relationship with this specific bacteria called rhizobia. And what's cool about rhizobia is that they can take atmosphere, they actually form a nodule in the root, this little ball. If you dig up a legume that's been in the ground long enough, pull the root up, it'll have these nodules all over the root, these little warty looking tumors, which is where the rhizobia reside. And in exchange for sugars from the plant, the rhizobia gives the plant nitrogen. The crazy part about rhizobia bacteria is nitrogen in the atmosphere is N2. And nitrogen in the atmosphere is extremely stable because there's a triple bond holding these 2 nitrogen molecules, nitrogen atoms together to make the N2 molecule. When we make nitrogen, when humans make nitrogen, the process is called the Haber-Bosch process. And it requires extreme temperature and extreme pressure to force apart those nitrogen bonds to convert it into nitrogen forms that are plant available, to make our nitrates and our ammoniums that go into our fertilizers. It's a huge, expensive, extensive process that requires a ton of energy to achieve. And these bacteria can break that bond as well and convert to these plant available forms. So the effect globally is enormous for what these bacteria can do for us for free while producing a crop for our animals or hay crops, grazing animals, all these kinds of beans for us. So it's a pretty amazing system that nature's created with these legumes. Number 4, live root in the ground at all times. Fallow fields are not good because you're starving all the microorganisms there. Because again, they're cohabitating with your plant. So if you take a plant out of the system for 6 months and leave the field fallow, you're not feeding the critters that are in the soil during that period. So whenever you have a quote unquote off season, put something in the ground. I'd rather see weeds than nothing. Weeds is like a human construct, right? We've decided that weeds are bad. There's no weeds in nature, there's plants. And weeds serve a purpose in ecology as colonizers after a disturbance event. They're the species that are most adapted at surviving in poor soil conditions. They take sunlight, convert it into green material, eventually the weeds die naturally, and now they're organic matter that they're putting back in the soil. Eventually, through weed cycles, the soil and the health of the soil gets such that the more sensitive but longer lived species in your perennials and your trees now have a better habitat that they can take over. That's that graphical layer of what happens when you disturb some soil and then walk away. It's not going to be a field full of thistles and dogfennel forever. Eventually the system will find a way to push it back to some sort of natural progression. Now, noxious weeds, a whole other ball game. That's just an interruption of the relationships that all our plants have formed together with competition and things like that. So, noxious weeds, yeah, they're bad, but run-of-the-mill weeds are not the worst thing. Incorporating animals, again, walking composters. So here's our physical, biological, and chemical disturbances that impact our soil health. Tillage and compaction, so driving over your field a million times, tilling it a million times. Lack of diversity for your plants. Overgrazing, and I got a nice picture here later about overgrazing. Chemicals can do this. Tillage, managing your past residue. So tillage destroys the aggregates, my little picture with the microaggregates, breaks those apart, exposes organic matter decomposition. Organic matter decomposes in the presence of oxygen, which if you pull subsoil up to the surface, now suddenly there's more oxygen available for more of our microorganisms to more quickly break down our organic matter. Compacts the soil by destroying that soil structure. Soil fungi, these soil fungi are huge as a part of the process, and they form just a massive network in the soil that is shredded when you till too much. On and on. So increases salinity, that's an interesting one. We're not going to have much of that problem in Florida, so we have such high drainage and infiltration, but in tighter soils, salinity tends to creep down lower in the profile. If you till, you bring all that salinity up to the top. Yeah, here's my picture of each one of these little coins or discs you can see stacked up as like a clay particle. In the background, the whole thing there, that's like a sand particle. So the relative size of our different soil particles you can see here. Now, the thing is, all these little nooks and grooves and cracks and crevices in the clay particle is a place for water to stick, a place for organic matter to stick, a place for microbiology to live. And a quartz particle is like essentially a gigantic boulder to a little bitty bacteria. There's not a lot of places for stuff to attach to, be it water or be it organic matter. So it's tough.
So what you're saying is we need to put the inputs in.
We need to put organic matter into these soils, but they're not going to come naturally and they're not going to come easily.
Can't you go get compost and put that out, and it's better than not necessarily just tilling it, but just putting it out there on the surface? Isn't that pretty good? That's the easiest way?
Yeah, spreading compost on the surface, yeah, eventually will find
That's
its
what we're
way.
doing now, but we need to close that system down because we keep bringing pestilence into our gardens by getting compost from, commercial entities who don't really know what you're buying.
Mhm.
And so we've had leaching of herbicides, we've had, contaminated things. So it gets to a point now where we're trying I want to make all my 100% of my own compost.
Yeah, that is a true thing that I believe that there's been at least one study that confirmed that this is a problem. I don't know if it's been a problem in Florida or not yet, but certain states they sell weed-free hay, which is a certified weed-free hay product, and typically, and oftentimes it's sprayed with milestone.
Yeah,
Milestone passes through a horse's gut.
right.
If you get horse manure compost, there is a chance you may get horse manure compost with milestone in it.
Right.
And it's nearly impossible to economically test for it, send in your compost and say, find out if there's milestone in here, because you're at the part per trillion level. So if you get something weird you're not sure about, The only real thing you can do to find out if, you know, yeah, if you've got poison compost is you do a test and you plant 5 pots. Tomatoes are a really good sensitive one. 5 pots of tomatoes in your mystery compost, 5 pots of tomato and something you know that's good and clean, and see what happens. If your 5
I
poison
bought
pots
hay,
are,
and the hay, I put it down in my garden before, and the hay was sprayed. And I knew within 7 days.
What will the milestone do?
it's an herbicide. So if
Herbicide.
you're basically planting your
Killer
crops in
plant.
herbicide.
Yeah, the shrivel up is bad
It's a weed killer.
for broadleaf plants.
Yes, I think it would be a good time to let them know that you guys also use soil testing, like, they have to send in soil samples and paperwork that you can.
We can, yeah, we'll do,
soil samples.
we'll educate and help you take the first round of soil samples you want. I mean, we're not like going out and sampling everybody all the time, but certainly we'll come out and show you, hey, here's the proper way to take a soil sample, here's where to send it to, and discuss kind of what tests you want and why, why do you want the information from the soils test?
Do you think those Amazon ones are any good?
No,
Okay,
so
so,
we know what they are.
because we did this, and mine came up as like, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you got nothing in that soil, it's just sand.
I did the one through the University of Florida through the mail, and it's cheap.
It's like 12 or 15 bucks.
I wanted to say it was 13,
Yeah.
and it's just a aggregate sample, so you have to get multiple samples, and it worked pretty well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say.
but I'm not sure I really believe, like, how can they tell how much free nitrogen is in your soil? Like, that's pretty hard to quantify, I would think, but
The labs have, when they get sent in, like, there's other labs that you can send in besides city lab, and they actually have deeper level soil samples that will get you how much, bacteria you have compared to your ectomycorrhizals or
yeah.
endos. So I mean, it's a real detail, which we'll go into some of that next month as well.
I think this slide is showing the difference. The big peaky one is like the tillage situation where right after the tillage event, you get all this microbial activity because you've introduced oxygen throughout the soil profile. But then for the rest of the season, it's reduced. Yeah, it's more level. You don't get a big pulse, and then it burns a bunch of it off, and then you get reduction later. And microbial activity equals nutrient cycling. So having more of that, more stable, like I'm thinking in this example, what they probably went out until mid-May and then planted their crop. And so yeah, you get all this microbial activity before you plant, and throughout the rest of the season, you don't get as much. Where if you had integrated or planted that crop in the no-tillage method, you'd have a higher level of nutrient cycling throughout the whole system. I'm big on hating on monocultures because of the lack of diversity in terms of like not just the plant species but the microbial communities it supports. Overgrazing, let's see, yeah.
That's what everyone's passionate.
That's what everyone's passionate
Well,
about.
just add coconuts.
Yeah,
Yeah, cotton grass and tropical
And
soda
Brazilian
apple.
pepper.
So,
Water hemlocks, poison hemlocks are bad around here.
yeah,
Very bad.
I knew a guy one time,
Six in my yard.
a guy called me one time and said, I had 3 cows drop dead this week. What happened? I went out and there's water hemlock eaten to the stump.
Yes, yeah, we had 6 weeks been taken out.
Yeah. So I like this picture a lot. Grasses have just an absolutely massive root system. And if you look at the little table at the top, percent leaf volume removed versus percent root growth stoppage. So in rangeland and grazing land management, we typically talk about take half, leave half. You go out in your field and you note how much grass there is by height. Take half of it and get the cows off. 50%, you're only stopping 2 to 4% of root growth. Once you exceed that and you start taking 60, 70, 80, root growth stops. When root growth stops, what's happening is the above ground portion of the plant, because it doesn't have the same photosynthetic area any longer, has to steal from its roots to get energy to produce new above ground material. So in the middle picture, 30% of the root died, and what happens? Now there's a space in between for a weed to take hold. Or when the roots are growing all the way almost touching together, there's not that space, and there's enough competition from the desirable grass to keep the weeds away. So yes, does everyone's pasture around here look like this? A lot of them do. And I get that call, how many cows can I fit on 10 acres? And the answer is like 2.
Yeah, if you wanna actually rotate
People
them
want
correctly.
10. 10 and 2 horses, and I want to cut hay. And I'm like, you know, enjoy
We
your
used to always
dirt
say,
field.
oh, you can put a cow on every acre.
You
That's
can't.
not really true.
You have to be really, you have to be an expert here. So like here's well, how far should we graze our grass? The hair grass can actually tolerate some pretty good hammering. You can take it down to 2 inches, but the more you leave, the better. But then something like limpo grass, which is also known as Mothria or Hermophora, if you're local, you know, you gotta leave 8 to 10 inches of plant above the ground to not be overgrazing it and causing these problems. Pesticides, you know, we may have to use, some folks use a fungicide because they have some sort of fungus they want to treat, but you're taking out your other beneficial fungi as well. So there's a lot of non-target organisms that get knocked out with pesticide application. Same with fertilizer to some degree. You know, if a plant is cooperating with a microorganism to trade carbohydrates for NP or K, and you disrupt that by giving the plant a bunch of nitrogen, now that plant's lost that incentive to share nutrients with its symbiotic organisms, and you break that cycle by giving them too much. Plus excess leaching and denitrification, these are all environmental problems that come from using nitrogen.
If you're growing, if you're putting the beans, legumes, or clover, or whatever, in order to put, you know, nitrogen into the soil, are you safeguarded from too much nitrogen using that method?
Yes, to some degree, yes. Now, you can't just plant a bean once and think you can grow tomatoes for the next 5 years. You know, you have to keep the process ongoing constantly. But a lot of times the forms of nitrogen that we get from plants is a different form than we get from fertilizer out of the bag or out of the tank. The fertilizer that comes in the bag and the tank is what we call inorganic nitrogen. That's not like Whole Foods inorganic. It's the inorganic form. It doesn't have a carbon molecule with it. It's nitrate and ammonium are sort of the plant available forms. Organic nitrogen, again, not Whole Foods organic. Organic nitrogen is nitrogen that's found with other molecules. You know, protein has a lot of nitrogen, but it's not susceptible to leaching like nitrate is. But if your microorganism community is functioning, it's going to convert those organic nitrogen molecules into the inorganic form that the plants can use. So having that as a storage in the system allows it to become available throughout the season as the microbes do their work. I mean, this is I'm not going to belabor the nitrogen cycle here, but there's a lot going on. And here's our nitrogen-fixing bacteria. Put it in from the atmosphere. You get, you know, the bunny rabbit, Easter appropriate, I guess. It eats plants and produces manure. We've got all our decomposers. So there's a whole system of nitrogen that changes forms that different creatures can use, be they big or small. So really the point of soil health is trying to make sure these systems function on their own. Close the system, close the loop, because it's all there. Manure, yeah, so manure is good. Not all organic matter is created equal though. like I mentioned, phosphorus. So I worked with a producer that was growing vegetables, market vegetables, and they had a ton of manure, and they put down a ton of manure, and they went from like 3% organic matter to 10 or 11% organic matter. But their phosphorus was through the roof because they were using manure from livestock. So you need to balance some of these. They had a ton of organic matter, but they also had a ton of other things, excess P, excess phosphorus. The milestone in the manure, that's not all manure is created equal. Not all organic matter is created equal either. So you can go, get a truckload full of sawdust and wood chips and go and incorporate it into your soil, and then go pull a soil test, and they'll tell you organic matter went up. But the content, when we talk about organic matter and the quality of it, we're talking about is the carbon and nitrogen ratio. How many molecules of carbon to how many of nitrogen? So a product like sawdust and wood chips is something like 400 to 1 carbon and nitrogen. Good compost is 25 to 1. 10 to 25 to 1 is where you want your compost to be for the best effect. You're not putting a ton of carbon. Putting a ton of carbon in and uncomposted horse manure is high as well. I think it's like 50 to 100 C to N ratio. And you've seen a horse turd. It's looks like grass. It looks like what they ate. There's not a lot of breakdown. Compare that to a cow pie that's been eating a high protein forage and it looks like applesauce. You can't pick it up. So uncomposted horse manure can actually have the reverse effect and make nitrogen become unavailable to your plants because the microbiology has to steal plant available nitrogen from the soil in order to have enough energy to break down the huge chunk of carbon that you dumped on it with, like I said, wood chips, sawdust, horse manure. If you're looking for like material you want to apply, be sure to check its carbon and nitrogen ratio, either from a table value or if you're getting some compost, a compost test will tell you exactly what that is and whether your compost is ripe or not.
Is there like this is how long to compost horse manure for? Because like we can get free horse manure, so we've debated it, but like you said, I looked at it and it looks like half grass.
Yeah, if eyeball test would be that you can't find a piece of something that you can tell
anymore.
If you can see a stem still,
Not done.
it's not done. It
Okay.
should just be like crumbles,
Okay.
cottage cheesy, curdly crumbles, to the point where you can't tell that it was horse manure.
So let me run this by you. My husband's idea was to go get it all, pile it up in our chicken coop, and let our chickens just have at it. Is it all the, bugs and critters and stuff in there that they like? Is that benefiting it by letting the chickens be in that compost pile or not?
Breaking it down really well.
Yeah.
Like, because I've heard that,
We had
obviously,
chickens
but
that were free ranging with the horses and they'll
Uh-huh.
scratch through them.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and
they'll
they-
take out any of the grain and
Mhm.
any of the, grass currently left in it.
I just didn't know if
They
adding
pretty
their
much make it
manure,
into powder.
I didn't know if adding their manure would make it like hotter. You know what I mean? Like,
Yours is high in nitrogen.
It will make it hotter, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It'll increase because all the urea.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
chicken manure.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Is it
seems
an
like
experiment I
could
should
kinda
try?
help it along, yeah.
Just do it, see what happens. So cottage cheese.
Yes. If you could see plant material in it still, it's probably not right.
So I
Paradigm shifts. Stop treating the symptoms. Solve the problem, right? Of dysfunctional soil. Like, why is it dysfunctional? And let the soil work for you by shepherding it rather than trying to medicate it. Basic principle of ecology. I mean, the overarching point is mirroring natural processes creates naturally healthy soil. There's another adage about, rotational grazing. Okay, so grazing animals didn't used to be fences, right? And herds of bison would go to an area and they'd absolutely graze it to nothing and they'd move on. They wouldn't be back to that spot for 5 years. And you get a 5-year rest period for all that stuff to come back. It's a big disturbance, but the rest period allows for recovery. And so rotational grazing is all about trying to manage for that rest period so that you don't take too much, you give it enough time to rest and come back without degrading its condition. Treat soil as an ecosystem. This is just the reverse point of our 4 pillars. Okay, so we want to minimize this. Create favorable habitat for food web. There's a nice worm. There you go. There's this is a healthy soil picture. You're not going to find a soil that looks like this very often in Florida, unfortunately.
In parts of St. John's, I've seen soil like that.
I mean, if you get in the muck, yeah. Then you got
areas.
water problems. You got too much water. Yeah, these are high organic. This is 5 to 8% organic matter. Most Florida is going to be 1-2%. So there are soil health tests. This gets extra techie, nerdy, soil geek stuff. Anne's been doing some of this. Convinced Anne to spend like $350 on soil tests. But this is deep in the weeds. If you really want to go that way, we can talk. That's it. I'm over time already, so I'm sorry. But we got some questions going on. I like that during the thing. Any other thoughts or questions?
If you wanted, is this on the web? Your
I don't think it is.
No.
If you have your email now, I'll email you this meeting, so then you can watch everything that we sent.
Okay. Now where do we put the email? Oh. Okay.
So in areas where I have removed a lot of pepper,
Yes.
the ground is basically bare.
Uh-huh.
What would you suggest?
Planting something.
A lot of our area is conservation area.
Okay. Are you not allowed to plant?
Well, it's the St. John's River Water Management Conservation Area. And I'm not real sure, I know I'm not supposed to disturb the soil. I can go in, I have trails, I go in, I can trim things, but you're not to disturb the soil. We have a lot of wetlands. They're not always wet all the time, but they're wet enough.
Right.
And I'm just trying to figure out, I think what I need to do is get back in touch with Chris Brown and find out if we should be putting anything back in there to keep the pepper from coming back in. Because with the bare ground, that's just begging pepper, and I've got guinea grass and Cogan grass. And there's some soda apple, if it's invasive, it's out there.
How did you guys get rid of it, the pepper to start with?
Cut it and used crossbow.
Okay, so you did cut stump, or you hack and squirt it, or you cut the stump and
Cut
painted it?
it down to a stump
Like a
Painted
mask
it.
here.
and painted it right away with crossbow. And so far, it's worked real well.
Yeah, I'm
But-
sure it's gonna come back. I mean,
Well,
it's gonna come back from just whatever did get killed too.
the birds,
Yeah.
everything's carrying those seeds. Because you can't get rid of all of it. We're surrounded by this mass.
There's a tangent to this, but there is a bug now. There's a Brazilian pepper bug.
I've heard about it. I have. Yes.
It's a thrips. I got to release a vial of them one time.
How can I get a vial?
I don't know how you get a vial.
Thrips?
Thrips.
Oh, thrips.
Those
Yeah.
are
Thrips.
terrible.
Those are
bad
terrible.
for gardens.
They're bad for garden.
There's
Those
a
eat my
gazillion
flowers.
thrips.
Maybe there's a lot
There's
of thrips,
a
yeah.
gazillion.
Oh,
They went to
I've heard
Brazil.
thrips, I just hear of the
Oh,
ones that are eating
okay, so they found a natural predator.
They went to
Yeah.
Brazil and they brought, I don't know how many bugs they've brought back in the last however long.
That always goes badly when they do that.
And they specifically bring back the bug and they see if does it predate on citrus or does it predate on whatever, and then if it does, they throw it away. And they just try bugs and bugs and bugs until they can find some sort of insect that, to the best of their ability, you can't prove a negative, but to the best of the ability, it's not gonna damage
Right.
natives or agricultural crops, and then they release it. So it's this little thrips. It doesn't kill the Brazilian pepper, but it eats at the shoot end, the new shoot end, and
Out of
at
control.
least kind of holds it back.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of, I have 5 acres of property we would like to put a flower farm on, but it's covered in coping grass, and we don't wanna go in and just blast it with a mazapir because it's gonna sterilize our soil, it's gonna cause a lot, so we've been looking for like natural remedies. One of the things we've been reading is, she has a bunch of pigs, that if we put pigs on it, that they will actually eat the roots, that they love to eat the roots of coping grass. And so, we've been thinking about like spending the money to hot wire the 5 acres and to put the pigs on there, but we were just wondering if like you ever heard of that working,
Or something else that does work.
because we
Ann's
don't
been
want to
trying the
sterilize this.
solarization thing.
We don't want to just like sterilize everything.
So like the tarps, you're saying
The
like the
tarps.
silage tarps, that's what she's trying to do?
Yeah.
I've been working on that, yeah.
Okay.
But she just put hers on. And how are you killing coping grass yet with those tarps?
So it does kill it dead. I'm actually just putting down that black fabric. I wanted the black plastic, because I know the black plastic will kill, and then you
Yeah,
put
the
that
real
on for a
silage,
short period of
Yeah.
time, and then you take it right back
Yeah,
off.
I have
Because
those.
I cannot kill my mycorrhizas or my
Yeah.
bacteria.
Yeah, we've been looking for
And so if you
Yeah.
leave that black plastic on too long, it's gonna kill
Yeah, and I
your
find
good
that's a
stuff.
hard balance when it comes to things that are really hardy like clover grass.
So next
People are
Next-
saying that pigs
next
really can fix
meeting
the problem in like
is
6 or 8
going
months.
to really cover a lot on the mycorrhizal fungi ratio.
Okay.
What do you do? What do you put on it?
Uh-huh,
So you can, but as far as killing it,
uh-huh.
I know it's safe to kill it, and you still are not disturbing your biology of your
Because
soil.
that's the thing, the pigs are going to root it. So I have Michins. They're like a low tillage pig. They're like a pasture pig. So we're like, okay, if they'll eat the roots, kill it, can we then save it? You know, like what's the next
I
step?
haven't heard of that specifically. I don't think it wouldn't work.